Turn it up, now we're back on air. Big games, big takes, yeah, we're going there. From the first hot mic to the final call. Nard Dawg Sports Show, talking ball. Headlines hitting, yeah, the day moves fast. We call the big shots, then we double back. From the fight nights, fairways, brackets too. Football Sundays, we're riding through. Win or lose, we still bring the heat. Talk it loud, keep it sharp, no retreat.
It's the Nard Dawg Sports Show, where the ball takes roll. Game time, prime time, let the whole thing go. Yeah, the Nard Dawg Sports Show, coming fast, talking goal. From the kickoff line to the final show.
All right, guys, it is Thursday, June 25th. We are recording tonight and we're going to post this right before the start of football season, sometime in August likely. But we are joined tonight by a very special guest, someone the three of us know very well. Went to high school with all three of us. He is Max's age and in between Ryan and I, but grew up with Brian and can't thank him enough for coming on tonight and having a conversation with us to tell us about his career and what he's doing right now at the University of Buffalo. But without further ado, we are joined by Brian Dougherty, defensive coordinator at the University of Buffalo. Brian, how we doing, man?
We are doing fantastic. I mean, it's an honor to be on the Nard Dawg Sports podcast. I'm excited to chop it up with you guys for a little bit.
Yeah, man, we're excited to have you. Ryan, Max, anything you guys want to note about the intro of Brian and our relationship?
No, I think we can settle, who was the best basketball player on the Siggins court out of the three of you, maybe at a later date. But
I will say, last time I got out there with Coach Dougherty, he put one on both Borland and I. He won the game of 21 we were playing. So last dub went to Brian.
I appreciate you mentioning me. Yeah. Beat a Big East basketball player and a former NFL football player. So I felt pretty good about myself when I left your mom's house that day.
Well, that made one of us because I did not feel good that day.
Man, but yeah, so Brian, Max and I, we played football together. My senior year, made a little run to the state championship in Ohio. Got clipped by Steubenville that year. Ryan and Brian played basketball together, and your guys' senior year, or I guess Brian's senior year, you guys got to the regional finals in Ohio D2. Got beat by Graham that year. Is that correct?
That is correct, in overtime.
Yeah. But Brian was a hell of an athlete, good little guard in basketball, cornerback in football, and someone that has now made a career out of athletics and sports and coaching football. And like I mentioned at the top, he is the defensive coordinator at the University of Buffalo and will be in his first year as a coordinator. Spent the last 2 seasons as the defensive backs coach, working with Coach Lembo up there at Buffalo, and had a great first year. Not as great of a second year, but we'll get into all that throughout the conversation. But Brian, look, I know you've had a variety of different stops. Went to Miami of Ohio, then jumped into coaching. But why don't you just kind of walk us through kind of the different stops and what led you to Buffalo, New York?
Yeah, thanks, Casey. So I was a student assistant manager at Miami, Ohio when I was in college there, and I thought initially what I wanted to do was coach high school and teach. That was really what I had set out to do. And then when I completed my student teaching, I felt like that was not for me at the time. I was like, the days were a little monotonous and kind of the same thing every day. And so my older brother, who's also a college football coach, was the defensive line GA at Defiance College at the time. And he's like, why don't you, if you're interested in coaching college, why don't you go see if you can help out with the team at Miami? And so I started my first year. I was a sophomore. I was a manager, and then I kind of just worked my way up, became a student assistant, tried to just hang around as much as I could. And the more I was around, the more they gave me, and if I did a good job, they give me more. And so I did that for 3 years, and then my first job out of college was at Millikan University. It was a Division III school in Decatur, Illinois. And I was the corners coach I was basically a restricted earnings coach. Had free housing. They gave me a meal plan. I was making like $5,000 a year doing that. We were awful, but it was a lot of fun. Learned a lot about coaching, really what I didn't know more than anything. And then after that year, that's when I went to Ball State for 2 years as a graduate assistant. I was the defensive backs GA for a year, my first year in 2014. And then in 15, I went over to the offense and I was the receivers GA. And those 2 years were pivotal for me because of the stat. I work with Coach Lembo, who I'm working for right now. And then just the coaches I got to work for on that staff were incredible. The special teams coordinator, Justin Lustig, he's the special teams coordinator at Penn State right now. The receivers coach, Keith Gaither, is the running backs coach and special teams coordinator at Virginia. The other guy that I worked for at Ball State, Alex Bailey, he's the receivers coach at Vanderbilt right now. Joey Lynch, who was our offensive coordinator, he's the quarterbacks coach at Texas A&M. My brother, who is also at Texas A&M right now as a special teams coordinator, Daryl Dixon, who's the defensive coordinator at Army now. So like I could name a bunch of coaches, but like I learned so much in those 2 years. I was like, wow, I know nothing about football. I was like shocked at like how much I didn't know and just the people I got to be around, and those people poured into me, and it was a great experience. And then working for Coach Lembo, he's very, very organized and efficient head coach, and he's going to challenge you and make you better. And then after that, those 2 years, I was there for about 2.5 years, spent a spring there at Ball State when Coach Lembo left. And then I went to the University of Dayton, and I was there for 2 years as the corners coach. And yeah, man, go Flyers, baby. And, that was a great experience for me. One, because I got to live at home. And then two, I learned a ton about defensive football. Rick Chamberlain, who was the head coach for over 10 years there, was an assistant there for over 20 years, I believe. He played there, coached there. That's the only place he ever worked. And then I worked for a defensive coordinator by the name of Landon Fox, who's the defensive coordinator now at Western Illinois. Those two men, they were pivotal and just teaching me like defensive football and working at Dayton, and just the expectation there and the standard of like they expect to win. Like that was probably the biggest thing. Like you go to practice and you go into a game, like the kids expected to win. When there was a close game, no one got tight. It was really like refreshing to see. It's like, man, this is what a winning culture looks like, because that's what they've done at Dayton for so many years. So I learned a ton from those two guys and had a great experience. And then from there, I went to Tiffin University for my first full-time job. I was the defensive backs coach there for a year. Had the corners and the safeties. So that was my first time really having my whole room by myself. And I think for people that don't coach or haven't coached college football or any type of coaching, you stand up in front of that room for the first time and now it's on you. Like that, there was a certain feeling like, oh shit, like this is me now. I'm not sitting in the meeting room watching somebody present. Now it's on me. So that was obviously very, very impactful. And then from there, I spent a year at Tiffin, and then I went to Landon Fox, who I worked for at Dayton. He got the head coaching job at the University of Valparaiso, and I was there for 4 years as the defensive coordinator and safeties coach. And it was my first time being a coordinator, which there was a lot of peaks and valleys. We got better, but it was a hard place to win at, especially in that conference. It was hard to recruit against the Daytons, the Butlers, the Drakes of the world, St. Thomas in Minnesota. They joined the conference a little bit later, but it was a very competitive conference. Great coaches, learned a ton just not only running a room in your position, but now you're the coach who's got to plan the meetings, run the meetings. Hey, this is what we want to do from an install perspective. So that was really new to me. And that was really my first time doing that. And then from there, I went to the University of Indianapolis Division II program, about 8 minutes from down. It's on the south side of Indianapolis, 8 minutes from downtown Indy. And that was very similar to Dayton in a way, like very, very successful program. They win their conference almost every year, go to the Division II playoffs every year. So there was a culture already established. So it was like, you come in there, just don't fuck it up type of thing. You know what I mean? So that was fun. Had a lot of success there. We were really good on defense that year and made the playoffs, and that was great. And then I really wasn't looking to leave Indianapolis. I loved it there. My wife is from Indianapolis. We were 2 hours from Dayton. I just liked it a lot. And Coach Lembo, who was at South Carolina as a special teams coordinator in 2023, he was there for 3 years, I believe, but he got the job at Buffalo, and then he hired a defensive coordinator by the name of Joe Bowen. And Joe and I were student assistants together at Miami. And so he had worked for Coach Lembo at South Carolina for a year. He was a graduate assistant there. And so with my connection to Joe, my connection to Coach, I was able to get on at Buffalo. I was the safeties coach, nickels coach for safeties and nickels coach for 2 years at Buffalo. And then this offseason, Joe took the linebackers job at Pitt, and Coach Lembo promoted me to defensive coordinator. So it's been a wild journey. It's been fun, moved a bunch, but it's definitely been a great experience so far.
So, Brian, I think the natural progression here in this conversation would be, what was the process like this past offseason when you're on staff with Coach Lembo and he was looking for a new defensive coordinator? Did he bring in outside candidates? Was it a fairly quick and seamless transition for you? Tell us a little bit about what those conversations were like, if you can, but go into as much detail as you'd like to or can. I'd just love to know kind of what that's like being promoted within and kind of, what the competition was, I guess, internally, externally. Take it wherever you'd like.
Yeah. So Coach Lembo is someone who's not going to rush any decision. He's going to take his time and be very meticulous, especially with the decision of hiring a coordinator. I thought I had a really good chance just because of my prior coordinating experience and my influence and what I had as a assistant and supporting our defensive coordinator for those first 2 years. So I felt confident about it, but we spoke multiple times about my plans, where I saw the defense going, how I was going to do things, like what was I going to keep, what was I going to change, a bunch of different conversations over time. He definitely talked to other candidates. I think the biggest thing for him was he likes kind of the foundation of what we've done on defense the last 2 years. And I think the big thing with like coaching changes is like what's best for the players. If like it was better to bring somebody in from, outside our program and that benefited the players the best, then he probably would have done it. You know what I mean? But I think with me being there, that like there was some stability with myself and then just the players that were in our program at the time. And I think too, just with the way that the world of the transfer portal, when coaches leave, kids want to leave now. So like, they don't want to learn a whole new defense. I'm not saying we're going to be exactly carbon copy of what we were the last 2 years, but there's going to be some similarities because the kids know it too. But there was a ton of conversations. It wasn't just like, hey, you got the job. It was multiple weeks throughout the transfer portal and talking back and forth. And eventually he went that direction, which I was fired up about.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It is super awesome and really exciting. How do you balance being who you are and being aggressive, but without hanging your guys out to dry, but at the same time, not just sitting back, letting teams do whatever they want in front of you?
So I learned this kind of early on as a coordinator, and you go and you talk to people, and I've kind of fallen on this philosophy right now. This is what I think right now. That could change a year from now, but like you never want to be a counterpuncher, and you always want to keep the offense on their heels. And so I think, what is being aggressive? That doesn't mean you blitz all the time, right? It means, you're bringing a simulated pressure, which is you're bringing 4 guys, but it's the illusion of pressure. You're moving the front, and you're bringing a second or third level defender, and you're dropping a defensive lineman. Or you're just moving your front, you're running games up front, canceling gaps so the ball doesn't get vertical. But you want to be... You want to try to get the offense in as many second and longs as possible, because when you get the team, it's called 2nd and 7+, you'll hear the term get back on track. That's like what universally in football, people talk about like what are offenses get back on track plays. And to me, when you can get offenses in those positions, now you're able to be more aggressive because you have the advantage, right? And typically, we did a Zoom call actually with Jim Schwartz a couple weeks ago. He played with Coach Lembo at Georgetown, and which I thought was a great point. He's like, whatever an offensive coordinator does on 2nd and 7+, that's their identity. So like, meaning like, are they going to run the ball? Well, if they, run that's kind of what they want to do, or are they going to throw the ball? And I think that was a really good point that kind of stuck with me. But I think going back to your question, Ryan, it's just like, you never want to just sit back on your heel and allow the offense to dictate to you. You want to dictate to them. You want to keep them guessing.
Absolutely. And we saw a lot of that, I feel like, too, in Limbo's defense. And then you're coming in, talked about continuity, Brian. Obviously, continuity is probably the most rare thing in college sports now with NIL and all that fun stuff. But, when you talk about simulated pressures and, kind of moving chess pieces around, run gaps, getting filled, all of that, right? Like we're talking a little bit schematically here, but we see a little bit of kind of like some taking it to the NFL for most of our viewers who are probably more familiar with those D coordinators, but there's a little bit of Steve Spagnuolo, Jesse Minter, little Mike McDonald in there. It feels like you guys have a really good mix based on some of the concepts and things that you're doing. But tell me, when you're watching those guys on Sunday, or you're maybe finally at home at night and opening a cold beer or something, which team or which D coordinators are you kind of looking at to see, hey, what did they incorporate this week that we can maybe put in the mix?
So I really don't get to watch a ton of NFL football throughout the season. I maybe, because we work on Sundays, and
Right.
that's a big day for us to get ready for the next opponent. But when I do, the time for us to study that stuff is like in the summer and in like the off season. So, I think that the biggest area that I would say, Max, is like third down. You look at some, like we studied the Chargers last year with Jesse Minter. So to your point, Max, like we put in a couple varieties of cover 2 that the Chargers were playing this past year. And we did that on base downs. We did it on third downs this year. We did some stuff this season. We actually had 2 sacks this season on a pressure that the Seahawks did this past year. So I think it's kind of like what you try to do is like, oh, you see whatever team, whatever coordinator, they're doing this. You see it once, like, okay, now, like, the nice thing is, like, I'm kind of jumping around, sorry, but like we have access to so much information. Like, are you guys familiar with PFF? You guys heard of that before? Yep. Yeah. So like on PFF, you can download any game from NFL, Division I, FCS, FBS, and get it on our film system at Buffalo. So if I want to watch every Chargers game, or I can just filter it out, hey, I want to watch all the Chargers third downs.
That's awesome.
I can do that, and I can get it on our film system, and now I have a cut up of every third down the Chargers had this past season. I can go through and watch it. And so that makes it nice because of how accessible the information is. And so you really just kind of look at like, all right, what is the team's philosophy? Like, is it match yours? Because there's like some stuff that like teams do. It's like, oh, that's really good. That really doesn't fit us. Like, I don't know, how to kind of implement that. But there's some things it's like, oh man, this is like, we could do this. Like, let's do it. You know what I mean? So there is a decent amount of that. You try to study as much as you can to evolve and not be the same, present different things year in and year out. So you're not being predictable. But yeah, we spent a lot of time in that, more on the off season than in season, Max.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I'm acting like you have all the time in the world during the season. But I think
you have to work on Sundays.
Yeah. Sunday? Come on.
What kind of profession is this?
Yeah. No, but kind of pivoting to the players and away from kind of the schematic aspect of it, Brian, we're seeing a lot, obviously you coming from defensive backs backgrounds, we're seeing a lot of this kind of hybrid nickel, hybrid safety look where, obviously the famous ones, the Kyle Hamiltons, the Derwin James, Brian Branches of the world, right? Or even Nick Eamon-Worry that we saw last year. But from a college perspective, that gives you the ability to be multiple, like kind of like you talked about, and give you kind of those schematic advantages. How much of that is getting into kind of your recruiting aspect? Are you looking for some of those traits specifically, or are you trying to mold some of your current players into a role like that? Just talk a little bit around how that looks.
Yeah, so speaking just from my room, so I have the safeties and the nickels. So the nickel comes out of my room, and so the nickel is more of a safety body type in our defense. So when we're recruiting a kid, or if I'm watching tape on a kid, the three things that, to make it as simple as possible, that I'm gonna look for, and this isn't anything like you guys know this. It's like, can you cover, right? Can you run? Can you cover? Can you run with receivers? Can you play the ball in the air? And can you tackle? Right. So like those are the three things. Like if I don't see that on a kid's highlight tape, like it's going to be hard to recruit him. And then, diving deeper into that, it's like, all right, like tackling. No one puts a missed tackle on their highlight tape, right? So it's like, all right, how is he finishing his tackles? Is he an ankle biter? Like, is he stopping his feet on contact? Or conversely, is he getting his body on people? Is he, running his feet on contact? He's very, very aggressive with how he finishes plays. Where are they playing him out on the field? Are they only playing him at one spot? Is he playing offense? Is he returning punts? Like for us, like we have this kid on our team right now. He was a Division II transfer from Shepherd in West Virginia. And when we were recruiting him, his tape was, he was returning kickoffs. He was playing safety. He was playing field safety. He was playing boundary safety. He was returning punts. And so like, you see that, it's like this kid has good ball skills, or they wouldn't put him back there. And then you see that he's playing both positions. Well, he's probably pretty smart. Like to me, like another thing, Max, is like, obviously the physical tools, everyone needs those, but like in college, it's such a, and in the NFL, but it's such a, the game's played above the neck. Like if you can't comprehend and think very quickly and adjust and, process, it's going to be really hard for you to get on the field, especially in our defense, because we put a lot on our defensive backs, specifically safeties, with all the communications, the checks you got to make. And so, if I'm meeting with a kid and I'm asking them questions and I'm putting them through kind of like a mock interview, like mini meeting, and he's having a tough time regurgitating things back to me, I'm be like, I don't know, man. Like this kid has a tough time learning, because like if you can't process it, like it doesn't matter. Like doesn't matter how fast you run. If you can run a 4.340, well, that doesn't matter if you play slow, right? So I think that's a really big one too. Is how, like, because I've coached players that may have not been the most athletic, but they knew where to be at in the field, and they understood formations and adjustments and checks and splits. Like they were able to make plays because they knew where to be at. Like that's, if you're in the right spots, that's the main thing on defense. Like we got to get you in the right spots. If you can be in the right spot, like now it's your job to make the play. If we don't put you in the right spots, and that's my fault. That's our fault as coaches.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I kind of think of it in a way of, it's, kind of like my football brain on Saturday and Sunday before like that fifth beer hits. It's all there. I can process the information. I'm kind of seeing schemes and plays and how it's folding out. And then that fifth beer hits, I can't even regurgitate anything to my wife. I'm trying to ask her for nachos, and she's not understanding. So I totally get that.
Fifth beer is usually right around when the refs start turning on you as well.
Yes. Yeah. Right. That's when we're yelling at the zebras, and there's some questionable calls.
The bat signal. Yeah.
Yeah. Goodell sends the bat signal. Absolutely.
Doc, you mentioned you don't have time throughout the course of the season to sit and watch NFL football like the three of us do on Sundays. Maybe after the season, you get into late January, you guys have hopefully wrapped up some of that initial craziness that is the transfer portal. Let's say you get an opportunity to sit down and watch the NFC Championship game. You mentioned that you didn't even realize you didn't know what you didn't know about football, right? Before you started coaching at Ball State. Can you sit down and watch the NFC Championship game and watch McDonald and McVay play chess and just enjoy it the way the three of us do still? Or are you looking at like how McDonald's disguising coverages and blitzes? And are you looking at like, is the way you consume a football game on TV now just completely different than it was the way, or the way you did growing up?
It's definitely different compared to when I was watching when I was growing up, but I still try to watch it. Like when there's nothing on the line for me, I try to sit it and watch like a fan, but you're still trying to look at schematically like, oh man, like what are they trying to do right here? What's the shell of the coverage or pre-snap? Like, are they in a 2 high? Are they in a 1 high? What front are they in? What personnel is the offense in? Like, this is interesting. The Rams are in 13 personnel and the Seahawks how are they adjusting to that personnel grouping? So like, there's like, I still like look at it from that perspective, but I'm still like watching it like, cause it doesn't matter to me if who wins that game. So there is some leisure to it for me and some enjoyment because I've got nothing riding on the game. But there's also, I'm still like looking at the schematic piece of it.
That seems like it would be very tough thing for you to completely turn off, even if you're trying to. But
yeah,
I understand the aspect of not being able to turn it off. But when you are able to turn it off, do you have I don't want to say like a mentor, but like do you have a guy that you look at more than others for just inspiration or play calling or just to see what they're doing?
That's a good question. I don't have like the people that are my mentors are the people that I know because I can call them and they can give me answers to like maybe some issues that I'm trying to work through. Like I don't know Mike McDonald, so I can't call him and ask him like, hey, like on this pressure, like what were you like, I don't have access to that. So more so the people that I've worked for and people that I have a similar background with. So like the conversation can go a little bit quicker, especially during the season where you don't have a lot of time to get on the phone with and talk to people because their time's just as important as your time. They're in the same routine as you are. So I would say it's more of like people that I've worked for, Ryan, more so than people that I'm watching on a Sunday or a Monday night game. Going back to kind of what Max was talking about, there is stuff like I see and I'm like, oh, like I'll make a note of that and like try to go watch that game and see what they were doing. And so I think it's just like you try to build your network up as much as possible. Like when I was at Valparaiso, everyone knows Chris Borland here. I was able to go up. Chris got me in with Jim Leonard, who was the defensive coordinator at Wisconsin at the time. And I didn't know Jim from Adam, and he spent 2.5 hours, 3 hours with me, just him and I in his office talking football. And so I made that connection, and now Jim's working for the Bills, and Jim and I have had some conversations back and forth. I haven't had a lot because he's been obviously busy, but that's an example of like you try to meet new people or go talk to people. And then it's like, all right, this guy's not an idiot. Like I can have a normal conversation with this guy, and you try to be respectful of people's time because you're not trying to bug them and annoy them to the point where they don't answer your text at all.
I mean, that's a great relationship to have, though, especially now that he's local, and when Brandon Bean and Joe Brady come calling next March, that'll be an easy conversation.
Yeah, one would hope.
Yeah, and I was able to go up to Buffalo game with Borland last year, and man, talking about not knowing football, I sat next to him, and he was just the smallest little tell from the tight end or the fullback. He was telling me exactly what was going to happen. I was just like, Jesus, like we
Right.
truly aren't watching the same game. And funny you said that. I talked to him just last week. We're trying to plan a weekend to get up there and to another Buffalo Bulls game and
Great, man.
possibly a Bills game too, because he mentioned that Leonard is up there now. So
and the guy he played with, sorry to cut you off, he played with the new corners coach here now, Jay Valai.
Yeah.
Who Chris actually got me in touch with him as well. So yeah, it's pretty cool to see that there's some Wisconsin guys in Buffalo.
Yeah, so we're planning a trip up again for sure, but I want to give you a chance to just pitch the Buffalo a little bit, because I went up there with very little expectations. I didn't know what to think really. And it kind of blew me away. I thought Buffalo was awesome. I'm excited to get back. And I didn't realize how good of a school it was. I didn't realize how cool of a city it was. I didn't realize that they're going to make such a great DC hire the next year. So I'm all in on Buffalo. So I'll give you a chance.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I had the same feeling, Ryan, when I got up here for the first time. I was like blown away with the facilities, the area, the academics. Like we're ranked the 36th best public school in the country. We're the best academic school in the MAC from a ranking standpoint, which I would have never thought of. Like when you think of Buffalo, you don't think high academia. So it was really impressive and very eye opening. Like our indoor facility, which is like 5 or 6 years old, it's beautiful. We just built a brand new weight room that's connected to our indoor. It'll be 2 years old in August. You might find bigger weight rooms, but I don't think you're going to find nicer ones. It's really, really nice. We got a great stadium. And then just the area, and when we're recruiting kids, and parents, it's like they get up here like, man, it's like, this is blowing me away. It's like, you just got to get people up here because they don't know what Buffalo really has to offer. We're in Amherst, New York, which is about 15 minutes from downtown Buffalo. There's 3 professional sports teams in there, or there's a baseball, hockey, football, lacrosse. There's 4. We've got a professional indoor lacrosse team.
We're not going to give you lacrosse. Come on.
Well, hey, they've won the indoor team? Lacrosse championship the last 2 years. They sell out KeyBank Arena where the Sabres play. But,
all right.
Yeah, and Niagara Falls is 25 minutes from our campus. Toronto is 2 hours away. The food in Buffalo is incredible. Chicken wings aside, there's so many great local restaurants, Italian food, and the people are phenomenal. It's like a Midwestern city. It really is. And, I will say this, whenever, maybe it won't be from 10 years from now, hopefully not, but whenever I do leave Buffalo, Deborah and I are definitely going to miss this place, because it's been a cool place to live. We've loved it.
I love that. Well, speaking of kind of your life in Buffalo, and for all the avid listeners out there that are looking for their next football school, definitely keep what Coach Doc said in mind there. But Brian, tell us a little bit about a day in the life. Are we still reading the funny pages in our undies to start the day?
Are you talking about day in the life
of Coach Doc? Coach Doc. So, are we reading the funny pages in the undies? Are we hitting the gym? We still.
Sorry, Marsh, I shouldn't have interrupted you there, but it's probably different, right? From, a day in the life of Coach Doc in the off season during recruiting, during portal season, versus a day in the life in September, October, in the heart of the season, right? So, Doc, whatever you think the more interesting answer is, or if you want to give both, we'd love to hear it.
I am not getting up and reading the paper in my underwear quite as much anymore, Marsh. No, so it depends on the time of the year. Like during the season, we practice in the mornings, and so our practices start at 9:30 a.m. And so our guys have to be in the building 45 minutes before the first meeting, which starts at 7:30. So they got to be in the building at 6:45 a.m. So not terribly early, but they got to get up, and so we're obviously in the office before them, or right at the same time. They got to be in there typically before, just because you're trying to get ready for meetings and making sure you got everything ready to go. So, we start meetings, our team meetings at 7:30. That goes for about 20 minutes. And then we have a special teams meeting that goes for 20 minutes. and then we'll go to offensive and defensive meetings. That goes for 50 minutes, and then you're out in the field. We typically practice close to 2 hours. They're done by 11:30, and then after they're done, we shower, we eat lunch, and then we'll watch film from like 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Watch practice. We have a staff meeting at 4, and then after that staff meeting's over, you're going to the next thing in terms of depending on what day it is. Like Tuesday is a base down day for us, so it's first and second down, and you're trying to kind of get the nuts of the game plan installed and practice and watched. And then Tuesday night we do third down and red zone, and so you're trying to watch all that film and those situations and what they're doing and get a plan together. And then on Wednesday you go through. It's the same schedule for the players in terms of when they got to be there and practice time and all that. And then you're doing your third down and red zone at practice that day. And then same schedule after practice. And then you get ready for Thursday's practice, which is you do red zone again. You do goal line, short yardage, trying to think what else we would do on a Thursday. Any other
practice,
very,
practice,
very,
I was going to say practice jumping on foldable tables. Is that in the works at all?
I do that more on Fridays to get me ready now for Saturday. But you're trying to basically do everything you did Tuesday and Wednesday, re-hit that on Thursday, do more short, like low red, short yardage on Thursday. And then Friday you do a walkthrough, and you're trying to basically revisit everything you did the last 3 days. And then Saturday you're playing the game, and it's rinse and repeat the next week.
I love it. Talk to me just briefly on the food sitch. Okay. I mean, I see these kids, they've got everything at their fingertips. We got protein shakes to 14-ounce ribeyes and everything in between. What's kind of the routine there? Are we creature of habit in the morning? Are we eating the same, eggs and bakey, or are we switching it up? Like what's a little bit on that from your perspective and from kind of the players' perspective, because I'm sure they've got a plan and routine in place.
I'm not a big, I like breakfast, but I'm usually kind of, I don't want to say on edge, but there's a little anxiety in the morning, making sure you're ready to go. So I'm usually like a black coffee. I drink black coffee and I have fruit, and that's really what gets me through the meetings and practice. And then I'll eat Deborah usually makes a lunch for me. That's kind of mine. And then we get dinner brought in.
We're not even on the meal plan here for lunch. What kind of treatment is this?
We don't get fed from our nutrition staff. That's all for the players. We get dinner Sunday through Wednesday at the office. So that's catered in, and that's nice. Various restaurants around Buffalo that are like our sponsors. But our players, our nutrition situation for Group of 5, our level, MAC football is really, really good. Our guys get breakfast and lunch every day in the facility, which is awesome. So our nutritionist, she makes breakfast in the morning. She makes a ton of stuff, eggs, pancakes, waffles, smoothies,
600 eggs. Shakes.
Yeah, she makes a ton of food. But then after practice, they have lunch in there waiting for them after practice, and they pick it up and they either hang around and eat it, or they grab it and head to class. So
nice.
But the food situation for our players is pretty good, I think.
I think it's pretty clear you're a liquid guy. I think I've seen you drink Guinness, coffee, and water on this podcast so far. So you're a strong pisser these days.
That's right, man.
Yeah.
I've learned to hold my pee in long meetings. Can't be going in and out. Got to stay hydrated.
Hey Doc, one of the questions that I've always wanted to ask a big time college football NFL coordinator.
I'm not big time.
You're Division One. You guys are going to Penn State September 19th. That's big time. What's your philosophy on field versus booth coordinating? I've always been fascinated by who decides to go up in the booth and who decides to be down on the field and being, with their players. Does the head coach play a role in kind of dictating, if a coordinator's up in the booth or down on the field? And I don't feel like I ever see anyone kind of do it by matchup, but I've always wondered, like, maybe versus like a spread team, a spread offense that you really want to see the spacing and who's doing what, and the route combinations and stuff. Maybe up in the booth for that type of matchup is better, but maybe a more physical running matchup. Maybe you're down on the field and looking at the offensive line more. Talk to me a little bit about the decision and just your philosophy on field versus booth coordinating.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So it's really the coordinator's preference. Casey, I've never been anywhere where the head coach has said, hey, you need to be here, you need to be there. I've done both. I would say right now, this is what I believe. Like, I think being on the field at times is better if you're going to, when you're calling it, only because, and this is my opinion, I think there's something to talking to your players in person on the sideline when you're trying to make adjustments. I think that there's a lot of value to that. Now, on the flip side of that, you can see stuff better in the box. You can't. Like, obviously, later you got a better vantage point. It's quieter up there, and there's not a ton of like distractions. And so, and the other thing that is kind of a game changer now is we have those iPads on the sideline now that you can rewatch the whole series. NFL, they just get pictures. We have the actual film. So like that makes a huge difference now because like in the past, you're telling if like for instance, I'm up in the box, like I'm telling the coordinator like, hey, this is what they just did. And hey, you're going on a board and people still utilize a board, all that stuff. But now you're trying to draw it up from memory and what you drew down, you drew while the play went on and convey that to the coaches on the sideline. Now I can just grab an iPad and look at it myself, you know what I mean? And show the players. So being in the box is definitely, I think, helps because you can see the formation. I think it just depends on too, like another factor is like, what's your staff like? If you have guys that you really trust that can see it from the box and convey the information like in real time, like, hey, this is the formation. This is what they're trying to do. Splits of receivers, like that obviously is really, really helpful. I was in the box the last 2 years, so I think I'm good up in the box. I've been up there before. I think that is a strength of mine, but I do think just talking to the players, like the one thing I didn't like about being up in the box these past 2 years was like anytime I had to talk to a player, a coach had to give them their headset, and I got to talk to them for like 30 seconds, and it was like done. Which you're not trying to beat the kids up with information to a certain point because you want it to be efficient and quick and hey, send them on their way. But I just like looking a kid in the eyes and walking through a play with them and, hey, what are you thinking? Or, hey, this is what happened. This is what you should have done, not what you did here. You know what I mean? But I think that's a good question. And I think it's just the coordinator's preference.
I've always been interested, and I would think that your personal style and coaching mechanism, like I would view you more as like a Matt Patricia, more cerebral than like a fiery like Rex Ryan or Rob Ryan, like getting guys' face, kind of meathead style defensive coordinator. Is that a fair? You're more kind of calm, cool, collected throughout the games. I'd imagine that's what you aim to be this coming season.
Yeah, I don't think the time to, I think it's like if there's like an egregious player where a kid's not like giving effort or if he's like not being physical, like stuff that you can control, right? Like that's when I think I do get a little hot. But to me, the time to get like lose your mind, so to speak, is not during game day because you want the kids to feel confident. You want them to play fast. There's not a lot of time in between series. So if you spend 30 to 45 seconds yelling at a kid, well, there's maybe 2 plays that already happened and it's third down and we're about to punt. And now you didn't even get to go over like what just happened. You know what I mean? So like, I think there's a balance to that, but you want to make the corrections. Hey, this is what happened. This is what we need to do to fix that. And then move on. Like, I don't think you don't want to spend a ton of time on just chewing kids' ass because we didn't solve the problem. You want to, like, our job is to fix problems and make adjustments as fast as possible. So if it does happen again, the kids know how to react. Now in practice, that's different. I always like what I tell my guys every Saturday. They'd probably make fun of me as I say, "Hey, Sunday through Friday is my day. Like those are my days. Like Saturday is your day. I'm going to be on your ass Sunday, well not Sunday, but Monday through Friday, because there's an intensity level and there's we don't have a lot of time, so we need to make sure we're putting everything into this that we can, so we feel confident on Saturday when we go play."
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Ryan, Max, you guys got anything else?
I had a question about, so last year when I was up there, you told me watch out for Red Murdoch. You said he's real good player. He ended up being Mr. Irrelevant, getting drafted.
I can't believe we haven't talked about this yet. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I got drafted by the Denver Broncos. So I didn't realize this until I did a little research. 17 forced fumbles. He broke Khalil Mack's not only Buffalo record, but NCAA record last year, which is kind of crazy that the two top fumble forcers of all time are Buffalo Bulls. So talk about him a little bit. And more so, though, talk about who is the next guy you see that has that type of potential to take his skills to the next level that is on your squad right now, specifically on the defense.
Yeah. Well, number one is Red. He is one of the better human beings I've been around since I've been coaching. And I don't just say that to say that. Like, he is a phenomenal human being. Like, he led our team in community service hours. He had so many obligations, and like sometimes he had like almost too much on his plate, but he did that because he wanted to, not because he was trying to get attention or publicity from that. Like, that's just the type of guy he is. He had like one or two scholarships out of high school. Like, he wasn't a highly recruited kid. And so that tells you the type of work ethic that he has. He started this thing called the Breakfast Club with our players, where they're up there at like 5:30 in the morning before position meetings watching film, and you see the best player on your team doing that. Well, what does that do to other guys? That brings other guys, like other guys see him doing it, so they want to do it now. It's like, when your best player is your best leader and like the best person, like that's like when you got something. And he would do something on Thursday nights. He started doing this last year through his NIL deal. He would get a bunch of pizza and wings for the defense, and they would go into our defensive room and they would watch film. And that was great on multiple levels because, one, they're spending time together. They're building, relationships, camaraderie. It's like what we used to do at Alter. We'd go to someone's house and the parents would make food for us, and we'd watch film of the team that we were going to play. It was the same kind of thought process. And he took that upon himself to do that. And that was just another thing just from his leadership that was really, really impressive. And then he's a really good football player. So all the time he put into it, he was able to play fast, and was a good football player. So that only enhanced his game. And I've never been around a player that is as aware or is as conscientious of like punching the ball out. It's incredible. Like, I could show you guys clips that like every time. It didn't matter like if there was a drill, a scout team rep, a good on good rep against our offense. Like, anytime he was finishing on the ball carrier, it was like he'd punch. Like, sometimes it was like, dude, like, tackle the guy too. Like, but the mindset of trying to do that was incredible. Like, I had the Ravens linebackers coach text me, and he was asking me questions about him. He's like, you could make a teach cut up for the rest of your career on him punching the ball out. It was like, I'm like, yeah, he's just unbelievable at it. It was like, and that's why he's the NCAA career leader in forced fumbles. Like, it was something to watch. I think he's going to make an impact there, whether he gets on the field at linebacker right away. I don't know what their room looks like, but he'll make an impact for sure because of just his work ethic and the type of dude he is.
That's awesome. And actually, it seems like he fell a little bit from where I saw him going, but it almost at a certain point, he's getting some publicity from being Mr. Irrelevant. If he does make it, like in the end, I feel like that is it actually can be a positive to fall that much.
Yeah. I think like too, that's like just like another chip on his shoulder, it just adds to like, hey, I'm going to prove people wrong. And I think a big reason for him falling is he had a high ankle sprain. I think he got it like week 9, week 10 of the season. And so he played like the last 3 weeks on a high ankle sprain. And like that just speaks to his toughness level too. He could barely run, but there's no way you were taking him off the field. You'd have to like put handcuffs on him and chain him to the bench. You weren't taking him out of the game. So I think he went to the combine and wasn't able to do anything. And then during his pro day, he was limited a little bit. He tweaked it. He he went to the East-West Shrine Bowl. He was supposed to play in that. Couldn't do anything. So I think that was really what really hurt him the most, was he wasn't able to go through a lot of the physical evaluation stuff that the NFL has in those critical months. But I think he's going to be just fine.
Well, I'm excited that he's a Bronco, especially after hearing you say that. I'll shut up after this, but any guy on your on the defense right now that you see have that type of potential
or impact?
So we lost a lot of guys in the linebacker room this past year, but I would say the area that is the strongest on our team defensively, just from returners, is in our defensive back room. We have both our starting corners back. We have our starting nickel, and we have a starting safety back. And so our starting nickel, his name's Savion Brown. He's played a lot of football for us. He's a really good player. Started every game, at nickel last year. And he's a really intelligent player, can cover, can tackle. He's long. He's very physical. So I think he's set to have a great year. And then our one of our safeties, we've got some veteran guys in that room right now as well that I think are going to step up this year and make some plays. But the guy who played a lot for us last year, his name's Miles Greer. I think he was 3rd on the team in tackles, blocked a punt, had sacks. Like he was going back to Max's question, this is the kid from Shepherd I was telling you guys about, the transfer. Going back to Max's question about versatility, like he played safety on base downs, and then he played nickel on 3rd down, Max, because he was our best cover guy in the slot, and he could blitz. And so we were able to we had really 3 guys last year that played a lot for us. So it was like, hey, this is great. We can get our best players on the field, put him in a spot where we can move him around, blitz him, let him play in coverage, you can do a lot of things with him because he's really smart and he's got a pretty diverse skill set. So I think those 2 guys, and then we have a defensive lineman named Cornell Evans, a defensive tackle who's played for us the last 2 years, who's a really, really steady player who has been in the program. He understands it. He's great kid, and I think he's set to have a really, really good year as well. So hopefully there's guys that are going to have great years that I'm not naming. That's the goal. But I would say those guys in particular that I'm hoping they're going to have great years.
That's awesome. Speaks volume about your coaching ability too. The strongest room, obviously, being the defensive backs, your bread and butter.
Well, it's not necessarily that. It's just the guys we have returning, Max.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it real quick, Doc. I mean, we still got some fluidity in the hips. We out there running with the boys. What's up?
Not really.
No.
Actually, here, I got a good one. Coach Dougherty, I want you to give the scouting report on yourself, Dougherty, the cornerback from Alter High School.
Good question. There you go. I would say quicker than fast, doesn't have long speed. Good man-to-man. Don't get to see him play zone coverage because we never played zone coverage. Good ball skills, showed the ability to play the ball in the air. Willing tackler, but not a killer. Size is an issue. A generous 5'9". So I think there's some limitations there, but a guy that's going to come in and work hard and be coachable.
All right, and this is my last question, and I'm truly going to shut up. I need you to give the scouting report on both Casey and Max as well.
Well, I mean,
it can be quick.
High motor.
If he were watching film and he saw a Max defensive end do the Sean Merriman lights out dance on a kickoff tackle, I feel like you just have to eject that film and be like, we're out on this guy, right?
Fierce competitor.
This guy's a knucklehead.
This guy loves ball. Okay?
I mean, look, I had my fair share of bad celebrations too. So
this guy loves ball, fierce competitor. I mean, I think it speaks volumes of the type of player you want on your team. He's culture guy.
I would say for Max, emotional. You know, is he a roller coaster? Or is he one of those guys you don't know what you're going to get on a daily basis? Defensive line, you like to have guys have long arms, short arms, small-handed guy. That concerns you a little bit.
Elite swim move, rip move,
but able to play, run, and pass. Has the ability to do that, which you like. I think he's a little bit better on pass rush situations. Has some twitch off the line. Casey is, I think, what from a measurable standpoint is what you like. Long arms, saw him affect the game in a lot of ways. Blocked punts. Could play the run, could rush the passer, physical player, did it down in, down out, not taking plays off. Like, I would say those would be the things that and my recall of both guys.
Soft core for Casey.
Weight for Casey. I'd like to see him gain a little bit more weight. He was pretty skinny in high school.
190.
Can he put on the weight in college? Would have been a question for me. But no, those are good questions.
Your boy Chamberlain thought so, but I decided to go down to OU and just party.
You would have been a great player at Dayton, man. I'm telling you right now, you would.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
No, you would have, man.
But, well, I appreciate you saying that, but sometimes I think Wofford and Dayton were the two schools that talked to me. But I decided I put on the type of weight I would have needed to be competitive at that level. Is probably. Could have done it, but didn't want to. So
the frame, man. You got the frame. The frame's the biggest thing. It's like
Let's get back into. I don't want to keep Brian all night, but
we're good, man. I don't know when we got to go.
This is fun. No, this is great. So Doc, you guys come in. Lembo comes in 2023. First season is the 2024 season, and kind of a magical first year, right? You guys early in the year, I think third, fourth week, Northern Illinois had just previously gone into Notre Dame, upset Marcus Freeman. The following week, you guys beat a ranked Northern Illinois team. You end that first season, I think, on the regular season on a 4-game winning streak. Go down to the Bahamas Bowl, kind of whip up on the Liberty Flames. Yeah. Just a phenomenal first season. Feels like there's a lot of momentum going into year two. I pay attention to Buffalo, and we're buddies. I read the scores and kind of read the game stories. When I was prepping for this conversation, I forgot how crazy the first 6 weeks of your season was last year. Like, I was looking at the game notes. You guys opened the season in Minneapolis against PJ Fleck in Minnesota. You're 18-point dogs, but it's 16-10 deep into the fourth quarter. I think they scored with 10 seconds left, but that's a super competitive game.
Yeah.
You guys come home, you kind of whip up on a bye game, I think St. Francis or something like that.
Yeah.
Then Kent State back and forth battle.
Yeah.
You're up 17-0 against Troy, and they come back and score three straight touchdowns to win that game. UConn's a field goal game. Then you had like 5 crazy games in a row.
Yeah, we
so
did.
My question is, my request is, talk to us a little bit about just like how thin the margins are at this level. And because it felt like you guys had so much momentum and maybe even a more talented team going into year two, and just a couple coin flip games go against you, right? And you end up 5-7 versus 9-4 the year before. So talk to us a little bit about how thin the margins are, and just how, the breaks of the game really dictate what is a phenomenal year into a somewhat forgettable year in year two.
Yeah, man, great question. So going back to the 24 year, we won those close games. People like that. they don't ask you how, they ask how many, right? Like, and so that was something like we won those close games in 24, which resulted in us finishing 8-4 and then winning our bowl game. And going back to like 24 season, like I don't know if you guys watched when we played Ball State, it was a action game. We were down like 2 touchdowns with like 5 minutes left. Like we had no business winning that game. We won in overtime. Didn't play well on defense that game. But those are the game. Like I would say like that team that year, we had a really mentally tough team. Like our guys did not quit. Like they were, it didn't matter what the score was, didn't matter what the situation. They were going to play until it was zeros were on the scoreboard. And going into 25, I think it was, a combination of, I don't know how like well we played complementary football, like as a team. If you look at like the biggest statistic to determine winning games is the turnover margin. And we were negative in the turnover margin. And we didn't take the ball away enough. And I think we turned it over too much. So when you're doing that and going to your point of like how hard it is to win, like when you're not taking the ball away and you're not taking care of the ball, and I tell our guys this, like we're not better, physically than anybody that we're really going to play on our schedule. We're not like you can win almost every game, or you could lose every game because the margin for error is so thin. And so those turnovers, the situations within the game are so critical. And I felt like in 24, in a lot of those situations, like we came out on top, and resulted in us winning those games. And in 25, we didn't. We just, for whatever reason, and I agree with what you're saying. Like I think going into 25, I'm trying to think, we had 9 starters coming back on defense. We had a lot of guys coming back on offense. We were set to have a good year, and I don't know like if we handled success the best way. Like you reflect on it, and it's like, did we show our guys enough? Hey, like we shouldn't have won this game in 24, but this is why we did win it. You know what I mean? And like using those examples to teach off of. So, but to your point, like it's hard to win college football games, man. It's really hard. Everyone is well coached. They are. You're really not going to out scheme people. Like you may get somebody on a pressure where, hey, they got to go back to the sideline and coach it up. But it's not like we're going to out scheme people for 56 of the 70 plays in a football game. Like that doesn't happen. Like it's technique, it's effort, it's how you're playing the game. Like those are the things. And then you got to win the situations, and you got to get off the field on third down. You got to hold people to field goals or no points in the red zone. And you got to take the ball away and take care of the ball. Like those are we have like a plan to win. Like those are our things we talk about all the time as a program. And if you do those things, you're going to win more games than lose. But it's a good point that you bring up.
Yeah, man, I thought that was a phenomenal answer too. It's crazy, right? It is. People will look at the standings from last year and it's like, oh, Buffalo, they were 5-7. What a disappointment, bad year. But you really got to dig into the nuance and look at how close 5-7 was to being 8-4, and then back at another good bowl game for a MAC program, right? Yep. So I think with time away from the further away we get from the end of last season, people just kind of forget that this is a pretty competitive and tough 5-7 team from last year. Now I know that you guys there was a lot of roster turnover. I think ESPN, Bill Connolly had like a chart, and I think you guys, based on his metrics of like returning production, I think you guys on his chart rank like 135th in returning production in the country this year. I think you're last or second to last in the MAC. Talk to us a little bit, and this is kind of how I guess we'll transition into roster building, NIL, transfer portal and stuff. But Doc, talk to us a little bit about what it's like to basically start fresh in this era of college football and basically have one of the most inexperienced teams by some people's metrics in terms of and it's not like you have 3, 4, 5 warm-up games. You guys play a couple games, and you go to Happy Valley to take on Penn State, right? Who has a ton of roster turnover as well, a ton of new personnel as well. But talk to us about this dynamic that exists now of basically replacing 40, 50, 60% of a college football roster.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging. I think what it does is like it makes you simplify things more because you have a number of new players. Well, you got to make sure whatever you're doing that you're teaching it at a high level so your guys understand it. Because now you don't have guys that have been in the program for 2 or 3 years, and this is their third year of hearing the same thing for the last 2 years. And now, like, it's like clicking for them. So I think a big thing is like streamlining it and making sure you're teaching it very efficiently. And I think another thing is I know we have the least amount of production coming back or whatever that article that you were mentioning, but like a lot of people are in the same position that we are. A lot of the teams have lost a lot of players. So like, I think it all comes down to how are you coaching your guys? Are you getting the right type of guys out of the transfer portal that are intelligent, that have played football at other schools? They've played college football. They have experience. So like when they get to this level, it's not like this is their first time playing college football. You know what I mean? But I would say everybody's kind of on that playing field because everyone's losing players. I think it's what is your process for, when you get the guys there, what is your process with them? I think that is really, really critical. And so we'll see.
Well, I think the way you guys do it too, right? Focusing on effort, fundamentals, like between the ears, that stuff's going to be a little bit of an easier transition if there is one, right?
Yeah.
Besides, instead of, hey, this guy's just a freak athlete, little raw, but we'll bring him in. And it's like, okay, if you do develop him and he has a good year, he's gone. You know what I mean? So it's it changes the recruiting, I feel like, a little bit to some extent. And you almost want to get the guys that are going to pick it up quick, that are going to play fundamentally sound football and give their best effort. And correct me if I'm wrong, it's a bit of a deterrent to like try and put all of our NIL chips into some superstar guy that maybe isn't getting some of the P4 offers and we're one of the top back offers, whatever it is, because you're like, we're probably only going to get this guy for 1 year,
Yeah.
So it just is crazy atmosphere. It's crazy landscape these days. And
I think that's good. Well, I think, sorry to cut you off, Max, but I think that touched on your point and then going back to Casey's point too is another thing is like, we don't have a lot of returning starters on defense. Well, what does that create though? More within, our side of the ball is competition. Guys want to prove themselves. They want to play. So like last year going into the 25 season, we had so many returners. I didn't think there was as the sense of urgency that I felt in the spring and that I feel right now wasn't the same going into last year with some of our players because they had been there and they had played. But now it's like, hey, there's so many spots open. Practice is like, it's like a fucking, I don't want to say war, but like guys are trying to prove themselves. And so they're playing really hard. They're putting a lot of time into it. So I think on the flip side is you're getting that too. Like you're getting competition, which is the best thing for any position group. When guys know like, hey, I already have a spot. Like I'm not really being challenged. Like that takes a special player to try to improve. And a lot of guys don't have that ability, in my opinion, to really challenge themselves when they know they have a spot already.
Brian Marsh, do you guys have anything else kind of
I just had one follow-up about roster building with the portal and like guys leaving so much more. Do you guys have a philosophy about replacing guys with other transfer guys, or do you guys recruit more from high school, like numbers wise, than you have in the past now?
Yeah. So we still recruit a decent amount of high school players just because we don't have the finances to compete and get, you can get transfers, but the guys that are going to come in and help you, we would rather take a high school player and try to develop them for 2 2 years or 3 years. And if he plays really well his third year, he's probably not going to be here anyway. So we'd rather have a high school kid. Now, with that being said, like, if you lose, a lot of guys, like for instance, we lost a lot of D linemen this past year to graduation and transfers. So we couldn't fill it with just high school kids. We had to get transfers. So I think it just kind of depends on what the room looks like, where are the numbers at going into January, Ryan. But we're not going to just take like 10 high school kids and just try to get transfers. Like we don't think right now that that's the best way to do it at Buffalo. So
makes sense.
Yeah. And if you even ask my brother, like they take like 25 high school, they take a ton of high school kids because kids are going to leave.
Yeah. Just knowing that they're going to,
you don't want to just have like a bunch of transfers. You're going to have to take transfers, but you don't want your whole team to be transfers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
You're almost banking on like the transfers you're bringing in are the up and coming kids where they only have 1 year left. And it's like, hey, they're coming in to get us over the top, but we're building the foundation with the recruits.
Right.
And I don't pay attention to like the recruiting and anything anymore. Yeah. I didn't know though if some of the bigger schools are taking more like 18 kids and then getting an extra 7 juniors that can come in that can immediately make an impact.
Yeah, I know. I think some people will like allocate a spot, like a transfer spot for a transfer, like say like, hey, we're not going to take 2 corners in this class. We're going to take 1 because we want to allocate a spot for a transfer. But like when you're looking at your roster, it's like, all right, if we take 1 high school kid, we really only have 1 spot, but that could be 2 or 3 by the time the season ends because guys are going to leave. You know what I mean? So it works itself out. It really does.
If you're the Miami Hurricanes, the best team in the nation, you just buy championships,
or that, man. If you got it,
Yeah, hookers.
And I think too, we're able to get better high school players too, Ryan, because of the way people are doing it. Like some people are just going more transfer based, which, you could argue that. You can argue it either way, but I think we're getting a better high school player because people are doing that. So I think that helps too,
Yeah, and if a team does come and offer one of your guys a crazy amount of money, do you guys even try to recruit him back, or is it hard to tell a kid like, hey, you can't pass up this much money?
So I'll give you a good example. Red Murdoch. So after his junior year, or after the 24 season, he was second on the team in tackles. He was Sean Dolak, who was first in the country in tackles, was on our team, and Red was second. Red had, I think, the second most tackles in the country. Like Red could have gone a lot of places. I don't know what he was offered or any of that stuff, but on the flip side of that, it's like, all right, like Red was a guy that battled injuries, and so it's like if you transfer, you're obviously going to get money. Great. But the flip side of that is that now you're going to a place you have to compete to go win a job now. They ain't holding you out of certain periods, and they're not holding you out of a special teams drill. Like you got to go win a spot. You know what I mean? Whereas at Buffalo, he knew he was going to start and be productive and still be able to put good tape together. Like that's the biggest thing is like, if you go somewhere and you're not playing, like doesn't matter. Like ultimately all these guys are trying to play in the NFL. If you don't have tape, then what's the point? Right. And so that was like our big sell to him. And obviously he's a great dude and saw the big picture and loved Buffalo and all that stuff and loved his teammates. But I think it's like, what is each guy's situation? If you do this, like if you're battling injuries, you're going to have to go to that place and you're going to have to compete and win a job, So I think you try to sell it from that angle because like financially, we're not going to be able to compete with a Power 4 school. It's not realistic.
Too, right? It's like, hey, I could go get, we'll arbitrarily call it like, hey, I go get $200,000 or $250,000 from this school, that money in my pocket, or do I bet on myself? To your point, knowing that I've got a starting job, I could make a name for myself. I could get drafted, and now I've got a full-time job that pays me at least that. And it's,
Right.
Year over year, right? As long as I'm performing. So it is kind of crazy, the balance that these kids have to look at and then, navigate to. I mean, there's the outliers, obviously. If you're getting, Darian Minsaw's getting $10 million, it's like, hey, I know I'm going to make the league and I'm getting the $10 million up front. So there's not really an issue. But yeah, for like Buffalo kids, it's kind of a different predicament, and it's just good to see that like you guys have built a culture where these guys want to stay and make a name for themselves and write their name in the Buffalo record books and still make it to the league.
Yeah. And going into the 25 season, we had the third least amount of kids in the transfer portal out of like any FBS school.
That's awesome.
Or fourth. We were behind Army, Navy, and Notre Dame. We were fourth. So it's like, all right, two academies where kids are going there for a different reason in Notre Dame, and we were fourth. And so like the kids like it there. We treat them well, but it's one of those things too, is like kids have so many people in their ears nowadays too. Like every kid has an agent, and some of these agents are just absolute morons. Like, you don't have to be certified. Like if you guys wanted to represent one of our players, you could. Ryan.
I'm a moron. I'm qualified.
Yeah.
I think you'd be better than a lot of people I've talked to. I'll tell you that right now. Like you don't have to be certified. There is no qualification.
It's just their best buds.
And it's like whoever. And so it's like you're talking to these guys and they're like telling you this, that, and the other. It's like, you have no idea. You guys have this amount of money. And well, where are you getting that number from?
Yeah. Or their mom.
Like, how do you know that? You? Like, well, I know. I'm like, so it's an interesting process, to say the least.
All right, Brian, obviously been in Buffalo a couple of years now. When you do have some free time, you've been known to maybe go grab a Guinness or two and maybe some chicken wings. So are we thinking, is it Wing Nuts? Is it Duff's? What's the best wing place in town in Buffalo or Amherst here?
I'll give my opinion. I want Ryan to touch on this as well, because Ryan did a extensive tour of Buffalo and the wing culture here when he came up for the UConn game with Chris. So I like Wing Nuts. It's not my favorite. It's a favorite place for some guys on our staff. If I had to go to like it's not a chain. There's two of them. There's one in East Aurora, I think, down by like where the Bills are at. There's one in Clarence, which is about 10 minutes from where we live. It's called Barbell. Mm-hmm. That's one of that's really good. But my favorite wing place is a local restaurant about 5 minutes from where we live. Ryan, we had beers there that one day. Creekview. It's, in my opinion, the best wing I've ever had. It's unbelievable. I actually had their wings tonight. But Duff's is good. Barbell is really good. There's a place downtown. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank on the name of it. Gabriel's Gate. Did you guys have that when you came up?
We did, yeah.
Yeah, Gabriel's Gate's phenomenal. There's a place that's called 911 Tavern that I haven't gotten to yet. It's in South Buffalo. That's been rated the best wing place in Buffalo. I've heard that's really good. But like any place you go to has good wings. Like, it's unbelievable. There's you're not going to go to BW3s in Buffalo like that. That's like sacrilegious. You know what I mean? But
we all know one guy who would, but yeah, they call him Squeak Scolari.
he would.
So what was the place? Creek what?
That place is awesome too. I had a beer with Brian there.
Yeah.
That whole like little, what do you guys call it? Like the little downtown?
We live in Williamsville. It's called the Village of Williamsville. Yeah.
Yeah. That place is awesome.
It's cool, man.
It's I did not have the wings there though, but my top three when we were there, you mentioned them all. It was Wing Nuts, Barbell, and Duff's. I like Duff's. I thought Duff's was the spiciest, which I love spice, so I love them. But Wing Nuts, Chris and I were both both had that as our top. The best people watching, I think it was a place called Cottage Inn. It's like up north. We went there late one night, and holy shit, I feel like just people watching there explained everything I needed to know about why people go through tables in Buffalo.
Yes. Yeah.
But
the creatures were out.
Oh my God, it was awesome. But the difference between like the top places were they were all so good. It was just like preference of sauce, and they were all great.
Well, wing nuts is more of a breaded wing. I'm not a big breaded wing guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's a little crunch for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you heard it here, folks. NDS listeners, Creekview Restaurant, Buffalo, New York, suburbs.
I like Deb's pick too. I think she did like the brown honey butter from Barbill was her favorite.
It's the Cajun honey butter barbecue or something like that. Those are
God. I just got
like if you hear Josh Allen talk about Barbill, like that's his favorite wing.
Yeah.
It's good.
You ever see old Joshy boy and Haley Steinfeld around town?
I have not.
No.
They don't venture up here too often. we were actually, Deborah and I, we went to dinner. There's this cool thing that Williamsville does in the summer on Thursday nights. It's called Music on Main, which is Main Street. And every Thursday, it's basically like a little music festival. They have live music at like every restaurant. It's a pretty cool. It's like a neighborhood festival every Thursday in the summer. It's pretty cool. So
I love that.
Ton of people were out tonight. I had to get back because I had this.
You got priorities, bro.
That's right. Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
For sure.
All right. How did Nard Dawg, who gave you that nickname? I've always wondered the genesis of this, of Nard.
That was actually
I've
good, 'cause
never got an answer on this. I was
going to do a recording, kind of just like a private recording of like explaining Nard Dawg and why it's not that interesting of a story. I was at Ohio State one weekend, like a football weekend, and I think it was year 1 or year 2 where Chris Rourke was on the team, and I was staying at those guys' house with like, Highland and Lauman and Lima and Vince and those guys. So I was at their house, and Chris was staying at the team hotel. So his room was open, but he would always like lock his room. And I forget exactly, like I asked him if I could sleep like on his futon or something while he was at the team hotel the night before the game. He said no. And so naturally I just got, it makes sense now. It didn't at the time, but naturally I just came home peppered from the bars Friday night, just kicked his door in and went in there and just smoked cigarettes with Vince and Jeff for like 2 or 3 hours. And at some point during that cigarette session, they started calling me the Nard Dawg, and it just stuck. The next morning, they were calling me Nard Dawg again. I was Nard Dawg that entire weekend, and I've been Nard Dawg ever since. So Chris Rourke being a walk-on at Ohio State and not just giving me a key to his room kind of led us to just be jackasses, kick his door in, and me get coined the Nard Dawg for here on out.
The Nard Dawg, the genesis. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we're the fastest growing sports media empire in the Southeast. So
that's right. That's right.
We create our own sports agency. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, Brian, again, we can't thank you enough, man. You came on, gave us, almost 2 hours on this recording. I doubt the actual output, the episode that we put out will be 2 hours, but look, we're gonna put together the best, most interesting parts, and you're such a good dude, and I think that's why the three of us really wanted to have you on, and for you to be kind of the featured guest on one of the first few episodes of the Nard Dawg Sports podcast that we put out. You are such a good dude. You're so genuine in how you talk about people and relationships, and obviously super knowledgeable. And I hope people really get a sense for how much you know about football and just are as impressed as the three of us are by what you've built for yourself in this career in coaching. So, man, I really can't thank you enough. I know Ryan and Max feel the same. This conversation was awesome. We hope to have you on the Nard Dawg Sports Show again, hopefully celebrating a MAC championship, a bowl win, and I think lots of big things coming for you in the future. One of the best young rising coaches in college football today. Thanks, man. We'll give you the floor if you have anything to say, but this was incredible.
I appreciate that, Casey. And I appreciate you guys having me on. This was a blast. I'd love to get back on again at some point. And I think this is just another way too of staying connected. You know, obviously all four of us have a great relationship, and excited to see you guys kind of your early stages on and trying to launch this thing. It's been fun to follow, and I know you guys are going to pour into this thing, and I could see this going a long ways. So really appreciate you guys. Great spending time with you. You guys are the best, and would love to get you up here for a game. I know Ryan's been up here. He's coming back, but would love to. I know you guys have busy lives, but anytime you guys want to come up to Buffalo, you got a place to stay, and we can go get some good wings.
I think we could make that happen.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, Brian.
Absolutely.
You're the man. Go Bulls.
Go Bulls.